Welcome to this journey through one of the most unsettling cases recorded in the history of Charleston, South Carolina. Before we begin, I invite you to share in the comments where you are watching from and the exact time you are listening to this narration. We want to see which places and what times of day or night these documented stories reach. Hidden within the cobblestone streets and behind the grand fronts of antebellum Charleston lies a tale that few historical records dare to mention. In the year 1839, when the port city thrived with trade and the dark currents of slavery beneath it, a merchant named Elias Thornwood established himself among the city's respected business class. The Thornwood residence stood on Trad Street, a three-story brick home with white columns and iron balconies that showed signs of new money and ambition. By all accounts, Elias was a successful importer of fine European items, porcelain, silks, and furniture for Charleston's wealthy families. His warehouse near the Cooper River employed 15 men and brought steady income to the family. What sets this seemingly ordinary historical detail apart from many others is a strange note found in 1868 tucked into the margin of a church register at St. Philip's Episcopal Church. Thornwood wife, not deceased as recorded. Inquiries to stop by order of Judge Harrington. This one line, discovered during a routine archival review in 1966, would slowly uncover a conspiracy of silence that had covered Charleston society for nearly a century. According to official Charleston records, Adelaide Thornwood, born Adelaide Montgomery in Boston, Massachusetts, died of yellow fever on September 2, 1839. Her burial spot in the churchyard at St. Philip's carries a modest stone worn by time and the salt air of the harbor. The stone reads simply, Adelaide Thornwood, beloved wife, 1817-1839. The death certificate signed by Dr. James Wilkinson confirms yellow fever, which was common enough in the swampy areas around Charleston to raise no doubt. What makes this case unusual is that no records exist of any yellow fever outbreak in Charleston during late summer 1839. In fact, city health documents show it was an unusually healthy season with cool Atlantic breezes keeping mosquitoes away. This detail remained unnoticed until Margaret Hollings, a doctoral student studying disease patterns in antebellum South Carolina, spotted the conflict while comparing burial records with public health files. The Thornwood marriage had begun 5 years earlier when Elias, then 32, traveled to Boston for business. He met Adelaide Montgomery, 22, at a social event hosted by her father, a well-known shipbuilder with New England connections. The courtship was short but intense, ending in a winter wedding that joined northern industry with southern commerce. Adelaide was described as educated and lively, having attended a finishing school in Philadelphia, where she developed interests in literature and natural science. Letters exchanged between Adelaide and her childhood friend, Elizabeth Peabody of Concord, reveal a woman with strong views on education and, most troubling for her new home, deep concerns about slavery. The practice I now see each day feels like a stain on the soul of this nation, she wrote in 1837, though she admitted she dared not say these things openly. When Adelaide arrived in Charleston, society viewed her with both curiosity and quiet suspicion. Northern wives were not unusual among the merchant class, but Adelaide's education and manners separated her in ways that caused friction. Staff remembered her as kind yet somewhat distant, polite but not fully warm. According to later testimony from a house servant, Adelaide insisted on teaching the cook's young daughter to read, even though South Carolina law strictly banned teaching enslaved people to read. This small detail shows the tension that likely existed in the Thornwood home. By 1838, cracks in the marriage were clear to those who paid attention. Elias and Adelaide attended fewer social events together, and when they did, their interactions seemed strained. Mary Pinckney, wife of attorney George Pinckney, and known for her keen observations of Charleston society, wrote to her sister that Elias always spoke for Adelaide and that the young wife seemed more like a bird in a fancy cage, present, but not allowed to speak freely. Mary also noticed Adelaide had grown pale and thin, leading to rumors of consumption, though Adelaide denied being ill. This story became far more serious after the Civil War. In 1865, when Union forces took control of Charleston, Captain Frederick Bellows was assigned to review property records. In doing so, he uncovered a bill of sale dated August 27, 1839, 6 days before Adelaide's reported death. The document recorded the sale of one mulatto woman about 20 years old to James Bouvier, a known slave trader with ties to New Orleans and the Caribbean. The price was extremely high, far above the usual rate for a domestic servant. What shocked Captain Bellows was the description attached to the sale. Fair skin with a sunburned look across the nose and cheeks, literate, speaks clearly, claims Boston origin. The seller's signature belonged to Elias Thornwood. Bellows investigated further. Shipping records showed that the ship Carolina Maid left Charleston for New Orleans on August 29, 1839, with Bouvier aboard. The manifest listed household items and one servant. Even worse was a letter found among Judge Harrington's papers, the same judge mentioned in the church note. The letter dated October 12, 1839, came from Elias's associate in New Orleans. The matter has been completed as requested. The package has been delivered to the Spanish gentleman as arranged. No further letters on this matter will be needed. It was signed J.B. James Bouvier. Bellows filed a report suggesting Adelaide had not died, but had been sold into slavery, possibly sent beyond U.S. territory to prevent any chance of rescue. The report sat untouched until historian Dr. Gerald McKean found it in 1963. At first he doubted it, but when he matched it with Hollings's findings and the church note, the horrifying truth began to form. The silence around Adelaide's fate spread far and wide. Household staff were separated soon after her supposed death. Elias sold the Charleston home in 1840 and moved to Savannah, where he remarried and started a new business. He died in 1852, his secret apparently safe. What makes this case even more disturbing is the number of respected people who helped hide it. Dr. Wilkinson continued practicing medicine for years. Judge Harrington remained on the bench until 1871. These were prominent men, willingly covering up what can only be called a hidden form of murder. Why Adelaide was targeted becomes clearer when looking at scattered evidence. In April 1839, Elias suffered a major financial loss when a shipment from France sank in a storm. Insurance covered only part of it. At the same time, Adelaide inherited a large sum from her grandfather's estate in Massachusetts. Under law, Elias had full control over his wife's money. A letter from Elias to his lawyer shows his frustration with delays in accessing those funds. Adelaide's brother even traveled to Charleston that summer, though nothing is recorded about their meeting. The most shocking discovery came in 1965. When workers renovating the old Thorn and Wood house found a small leather-bound book sealed behind a cellar wall. It was Adelaide's diary. Water had damaged many pages, but the last readable entry, written in mid-August 1839, said, "E has become something I no longer know. The anger in him when refused is frightening. He speaks of debts and chances in the islands. I wrote to William, but fear the letter never left this house. Last night, the key was taken from my door. Mary P. will visit tomorrow, which gives me a little comfort. Mary Pinckney's promised visit either never happened or failed to stop what followed." Her letters from September mention shock at Adelaide's sudden death, though she did not go to the funeral. By October, she stopped mentioning Adelaide entirely. When Dr. McKean reopened the case in 1965, no living descendants could be found. The Thornwood line had ended, and the Montgomery branch had moved west long ago. No record in New Orleans matches Adelaide exactly, strongly suggesting Bouvier sent her outside U.S. territory, likely to the Caribbean, where a fair-skinned, educated woman might be placed in household service. The idea that Adelaide, raised in freedom and comfort, educated and once connected to respected society, may have lived her remaining years in bondage, her identity stripped away, stands as a haunting American tragedy. That such a fate could be orchestrated not by strangers, but by her own husband, with the agreement of respected community figures, highlights the deep moral corruption that slavery created even among those considered pillars of society. In 1968, a small ceremony took place at St. Philip's Churchyard. The worn headstone marking what was thought to be Adelaide Thornwood's final resting place was updated with a modest bronze plaque. It reads simply, Adelaide Montgomery Thornwood, 1817 to unknown. Let truth prevail. The grave beneath, exhumed during a renewed investigation, held only a few personal belongings, a hairbrush, a pair of gloves, some books, but no human remains. These items, carefully preserved in a wooden box, now rest in the Charleston Historical Society, silent witnesses to a crime history nearly forgot. Visitors sometimes report a heavy, oppressive feeling in the room where the box is kept, though that may simply be a natural reaction to facing such deliberate cruelty from the past. Adelaide Thornwood's story is more than an isolated crime. It shows how systems of oppression corrupt not just direct participants, but also those who benefit indirectly, the doctors who signed false certificates, the judges who enforced silence, the friends who avoided difficult questions. In a society built on human bondage, even a woman of privilege could become property once certain protections were removed. The line between freedom and slavery was far thinner than many historical accounts suggest. One wonders how many similar cases remain hidden in archives across the nation, victims lost not just to freedom, but to memory itself. Today, the Thornwood House still stands on Trad Street, though it has passed through many owners since 1840. Current residents report no unusual activity, perhaps because Adelaide's spirit never stayed there, but was sent far from Charleston to endure an unknown fate. The warehouse near the Cooper River was torn down in 1932 to make way for modern buildings. Judge Harrington's courthouse still serves the city, though few know the role it played in permitting such injustice. St. Philip's Church remains active, and its cemetery is a popular historical stop, though guides rarely mention the empty grave and its quiet accusation in bronze. Perhaps the most disturbing part of Adelaide Thornwood's story is how easily it was erased, how completely a conspiracy of silence succeeded for over a century. Had it not been for a chance note, discrepancies in yellow fever records, and Captain Bellows's forgotten report, her fate might never have been revealed. This case reminds us that history is not just what happened, but also what was recorded and deliberately omitted. It raises unsettling questions about how many truths remain hidden, not under soil, but beneath destroyed documents, misdirection, and collective choice to ignore harsh realities. Since Dr. McKinn's research brought the case to light, several attempts have been made to trace Adelaide after she left Charleston Harbor. Researchers have combed port records in New Orleans, Havana, and Santo Domingo for any record of a woman matching her description arriving in September 1839. Some leads emerged. A Spanish merchant's household account in Havana notes a new English-speaking house manager in October. A letter from a French plantation owner near Puerto Principe mentions buying a highly educated mulatto woman claiming American birth from a Spanish dealer in late 1839. Yet no definitive proof confirms Adelaide's final destination or fate. Like many victims of human trafficking, she vanished into a system designed to erase individual identities and turn people into interchangeable property. In Charleston, traces of her story persist. The false account of her death from yellow fever appears in multiple 19th century genealogical records, repeated without question. Her name is listed on a yellow fever memorial plaque in the Charleston Museum, a bitterly ironic marker for someone who did not die, but endured a living death far from home. The wall section in the Trad Street house where her diary was found has been preserved by current owners, though few understand its significance. Adelaide's mother, Sarah Montgomery, bought a memorial stone at Boston's Mount Orrin Cemetery in 1845, inscribed for her daughter lost to us but not forgotten. Whether Sarah ever learned the truth remains unknown. Charleston today continues to confront its history and the role slavery played in shaping its society. Adelaide's story challenges simplistic narratives. She exists in a liminal space between enslaver and enslaved, a free woman condemned to bondage through betrayal of law and trust. Her story shows how deeply slavery corrupted morality beyond auctions and plantations, infiltrating intimate relationships and institutions meant to uphold justice. That such a fate could touch a woman of Adelaide's standing forces reflection on how many others with fewer protections suffered similar fates without leaving evidence for history. In 1969, Dr. McKinn published a full account of the case in the Journal of Southern History, drawing academic attention to this rare instance of a free woman sold into slavery by her husband. The article gained brief public attention, including mentions in the New York Times, but fascination faded, perhaps because the case defied easy categorization. It was neither a ghost story nor a conventional murder mystery. It was something more unsettling, a true crime with no justice, a disappearance without resolution, a conspiracy nearly erasing a woman from history. For students of American history, Adelaide Thornwood's story shows how fragile freedom could be, even for those with social advantages. It illustrates the extraordinary power systems of oppression grant to those who exploit them, and how institutions can be corrupted to serve private greed over public good. It stands as a testament to countless untold stories buried beneath city streets and behind elegant facades built on hidden suffering. Adelaide Montgomery Thornwood entered historical records twice, first in the false narrative of her death, later through fragmented evidence of her true fate. Between these entries lies a void, a life interrupted and erased by those who valued profit over humanity. As tourists stroll Charleston's historic district, few realize they walk amid such betrayal. Thornwood House appears on no ghost tours or infamous lists. Its dark history is known only to serious students of law and local history. The small bronze plaque in St. Philip's Churchyard remains the sole acknowledgement of Adelaide's story, a quiet challenge to a silence that almost erased her. Those who know where to look see it as a somber reminder that beneath the surface of Southern gentility lie countless hidden stories of cruelty and betrayal. During preservation work in the 1970s, architects reported unusual phenomena in the former Thornwood residence. Workers refused to remain alone in the cellar where the diary was found, describing sudden chills and oppressive energy. Skeptics argue these experiences stemmed from suggestion, yet discomfort persisted even among those unaware of the house's history. The current owners, who purchased it in 2004, report no strange occurrences, though they sense a somber weight where the diary was recovered. In 1972, letters were found during renovations of a former shipping office near Charleston Harbor, including correspondence between Elias Thornwood and business associates from 1838 to 1839. Most were mundane, but several hinted at domestic matters requiring adjustments. A July 23, 1839 letter to James Bouvier discussed legal entanglements over northern property, complicated by family interference, and hinted at alternative arrangements to expedite solutions. This coded language suggests Elias planned Adelaide's disappearance weeks in advance, likely prompted by her family's protection of her inheritance. William Montgomery, Adelaide's brother, suspected trouble during his July 1839 visit. Returning to Boston, he consulted a family attorney about safeguarding her inheritance. An August 18th letter proposed a trust to protect Adelaide's finances, independent of her husband. William also worried about her isolation and restricted correspondence. A planned September visit was rendered moot by news of Adelaide's supposed death. His diary, found in 1977, contains a single cryptic entry. A situation more troubling than initially feared. Charleston authorities dismissive. Judge H. unhelpful. Must pursue other channels. No record exists of subsequent action, and Boston archives reveal no accusations or legal cases against Elias Thornwood. The involvement of Charleston's professional class in hiding Adelaide's fate reveals much about social dynamics of the time. Dr. James Wilkinson falsified her death certificate while serving on the board of Charleston Mercantile Bank, where Elias did business. Judge Harrington, who halted inquiries, had shipping investments tied to Elias. These were not nameless bureaucrats but influential men whose interests aligned with erasing Adelaide from existence, condemning her to a terrible fate, showing how slavery corrupted moral judgment even among respected citizens. Perhaps the most haunting discovery came in 1979 in New Orleans archives. Among property papers was a bill of sale dated October 12, 1839, transferring a female servant, fair-skinned, about 25 years old, from a Spanish merchant named Carlos Vega to a French planter outside Porto Principe. She was named Elena, described as educated, suitable for household management, English-speaking with some French. The timing and details match Adelaide's sale and transport. If this was indeed her, she was sent to a French-speaking society far from home. The price of $2,400 reflected her education and refinement, marking her as a valuable commodity. After this, the trail grows cold. No records show Adelaide's ultimate fate. Did she spend her later years on a French plantation in Haiti, perhaps gradually gaining some autonomy through her skills and education? Did she try to escape, possibly seeking passage to a British colony where slavery had been abolished in 1833? Did she fall victim to disease or hardship in a land entirely unfamiliar to her? These questions remain unanswered, though researchers continue to search Caribbean archives for any trace of a woman matching her description. The very totality of her disappearance highlights the terrifying efficiency of the slave system in erasing individual identities and severing all links to previous lives. In 1983, a curious footnote to the case appeared when restoration work at St. Philip's Church revealed a hidden space beneath the floor near the altar. Inside was a small tin box containing personal items, a cameo brooch, a pair of reading glasses, several letters addressed to Adelaide from her mother in Boston, and a miniature portrait of a young woman with auburn hair. A note in a shaky hand on church stationery read, "These belong to Mrs. T. They should not have been buried with an empty coffin as husband directed. I keep them safe until the truth may be told. Thomas Jennings, sexton." Church records confirmed that Thomas Jennings had served as sexton at St. Philip's from 1829 until his death in 1857. This discovery suggests that at least one person aware of the deception had harbored doubts, preserving these small pieces of Adelaide's life for the day her true story might be revealed. The items were carefully catalogued and added to the Adelaide Thornwood collection at the Charleston Historical Society. The portrait, in particular, provides a moving connection to a woman previously known only through written accounts. The face in the miniature shows a young woman with intelligent eyes and a composed expression, her hair styled in the fashion of the 1830s, a faint smile hinting at reserved hopefulness. That this image survived when so much else was deliberately destroyed seems a small triumph against the conspiracy that sought to erase her completely. Visitors to the Historical Society can now see Adelaide Montgomery Thornwood's face and reflect on the extraordinary cruelty that could turn a free woman of good family into property, trafficked across borders at her husband's command. Historians have debated the uniqueness of Adelaide's case. Was this an isolated act of extreme cruelty, or did it reflect a broader pattern of abuse hidden within the larger system of slavery? Records from the antebellum period suggest that while the sale of free persons into slavery was not common, it was not unheard of. Most documented cases involved free people of color who were kidnapped or fraudulently enslaved, a crime made possible by a system that presumed Black Americans to be slaves unless proven otherwise. Adelaide's case is unusual because she was white, educated, and connected to prominent Northern families, advantages that should have protected her but did not. That her husband could orchestrate such a fate with the complicity of Charleston's professional class demonstrates the absolute power slave-holding societies granted to white men, even over their wives. The legal status of women in antebellum America made Adelaide especially vulnerable. Under the doctrine of coverture, a married woman's legal identity was merged with her husband's. She could not own property separately, sign contracts, or file lawsuits independently. Her inheritance legally became her husband's to control upon marriage. While social customs and family connections provided some protection, a woman isolated from her family and friends, as Adelaide increasingly was in the months before her disappearance, had few formal defenses against a husband determined to control her. That Elias Thornwood took this control to its extreme by literally selling his wife reflects not only individual cruelty, but the logical outcome of a legal system that treated women as subordinate and human beings as potential property. A further dimension emerged in 1986 when a genealogist researching the Montgomery family discovered that Adelaide's maternal grandmother had been French Creole from Louisiana. Though this heritage was distant enough that Adelaide was fully accepted as white in Boston society, it provided a technical opening for Elias to classify her as having mixed ancestry, a mulatto in the racial terminology of the time, in the bill of sale. In a society obsessed with racial categorization and the enforcement of slavery, even the rumor of non-white ancestry could put someone at risk. Whether Elias truly believed this lineage mattered or merely used it as a legal loophole remains unclear, but it shows how racial ideology could be weaponized against those normally protected by white privilege when other factors, like gender and marital status, made them vulnerable. The complicity of Charleston society in maintaining silence about Adelaide's fate extended beyond direct participants. Mary Pinckney's sudden stop in correspondence about the Thornwoods suggests she may have known something but chose not to pursue it. Church records show that Adelaide's funeral service was sparsely attended, with most of Elias Thornwood's business associates sending their wives instead of appearing personally, perhaps to avoid direct involvement in the deception. Newspaper accounts of her death were brief and formulaic, lacking the extended obituaries usually given to women of her social standing. These small oddities, unremarkable alone, form a pattern of avoidance and discomfort when seen together. Charleston society seems to have sensed something amiss, but collectively chose to look away. A community conspiracy of silence that protected Elias and abandoned Adelaide. In 1990, historian Dr. Rebecca Harrington published a thorough analysis of the Thornwood case, placing it within the wider context of women's vulnerability in antebellum society. She argued that while Adelaide's fate was extreme, the legal and social structures that allowed it affected all women to varying degrees. The absolute control husbands had over wives' property, movement, and legal status created conditions where abuse could thrive behind closed doors. Dr. Harrington wrote that Adelaide Thornwood's suffering reflected the specific institution of slavery, but also illustrated enduring dynamics of power and control across history. Her analysis helped shift understanding from seeing Adelaide's case as a historical curiosity to recognizing it as a window into intersecting systems of oppression based on gender, race, and economic power. The physical spaces tied to Adelaide's story have changed over nearly 2 centuries. The Thornwood House on Trad Street remains a private home, its elegant facade revealing nothing of the darkness within. The warehouse near the Cooper River, where Elias ran his import business, was demolished in the 1930s. The offices of Dr. Wilkinson and Judge Harrington have been repurposed, now housing a restaurant and law firm. St. Philip's Church continues as an active parish, though the empty grave with its bronze plaque stands as a quiet rebuke to past complicity. These changes mirror how history tries to move beyond moral failings, sometimes through genuine reckoning, sometimes through convenient forgetting. In 2007, a final piece of the puzzle emerged during digitization of Havana Trading Company archives. Among routine business documents was a letter dated November 1839 from Carlos Vega, the Spanish merchant linked to the New Orleans sale record. The letter mainly concerned tobacco shipments, but a postscript noted, "The American woman continues to insist upon her free status and Boston origins. She grows troublesome despite correction. If current sale to French islands falls through, may need to place her further from American territories, perhaps Stummer Domingo Interior, or even Brazil, will advise." This chilling note provides the last known reference to a woman who may have been Adelaide. Its casual mention of punishment and further transport into slave territories gives a glimpse of the horrors she faced. A free woman insisting on her truth against those determined to erase it. Whether Adelaide Thornwood ever found justice or freedom remains unknown. If the woman in Vega's letter was indeed Adelaide, she maintained her sense of self despite the system trying to break her. The reference to French islands aligns with the bill of sale, suggesting she may have been taken to Haiti. French colonists there maintained slavery in isolated areas even after the Haitian Revolution, making her fate precarious as slave and free territories coexisted with the constant threat of rebellion and changing laws. In the broader historical context, Adelaide disappeared in a pivotal moment in American history. The year 1839 saw growing tensions between abolitionists and defenders of slavery. The Amistad case, in which enslaved Africans seized control of the ship transporting them to the U.S., occurred that same year. Northern opposition to slavery grew more organized and vocal, while Southern states felt increasingly threatened. Adelaide, from Boston and reportedly uneasy with slavery, embodied these national divisions within her own household, that her husband could completely silence her, not just figuratively, but literally removing her from society and erasing her identity, represents a microcosm of the larger efforts by slaveholders to control the narrative and suppress dissenting voices. Modern Charleston has begun to face its past more honestly, acknowledging the central role of slavery in the city's wealth and society. Historical markers now identify slave markets and auction houses. Museums include exhibits on enslaved people, alongside the city's elite. In this context, Adelaide Thornwood's story gains relevance as an example of how slavery corrupted even the closest human relationships. A small exhibit at the Charleston Museum features her story, with reproductions of documents revealing her fate and the miniature portrait preserving her image. While her case was unusual in some respects, the systems that enabled it affected countless others whose stories remain untold. Visitors today might walk past the Thornwood House on Trad Street or stop at Adelaide's empty grave in St. Philip's Churchyard without realizing the horror behind them. Yet for those who know the story, these spaces carry deep emotional weight. They are monuments not only to one woman's suffering, but to a society that could rationalize human bondage. The bronze plaque, with its simple demand, "Let truth prevail," stands as both memorial and warning, a reminder to confront history honestly, even when it challenges our preferred narratives. Adelaide Montgomery Thornwood, born into privilege in Boston in 1817, vanished from records in the summer of 1839. The conspiracy to erase her succeeded for over a century before fragments of evidence allowed her story to emerge. Many questions remain unanswered. What became of Adelaide after being transported to the French planter? Did she live long or die soon? Did she regain any freedom or agency? Did she hope for rescue or reunion with her Boston family? Without further documents from Haitian or Caribbean archives, these questions may remain forever unknown. In the absence of answers, Adelaide's story serves as a haunting reminder of how completely a human life could be erased by systems of power. A woman of education and social standing with family and financial resources could still be reduced to property through gendered subordination and slavery. Her identity could be destroyed by false documents and social silence. Her fate was determined entirely by her husband and his associates. This absolute vulnerability, the condition of having no real rights, was the reality for millions of enslaved people in American history. Adelaide's case is remarkable not for the uniqueness of her suffering, but because her social position makes the mechanisms of erasure visible and well documented. As night falls over Charleston, the streets grow quiet. The grand homes with their piazzas and gardens take on a different character, beautiful but shadowed. In these shadows, one might imagine Adelaide on that August night in 1839, perhaps realizing too late the fate her husband had arranged. Did she have a final moment of clarity as she was taken from the house? Did she know the death certificate was already prepared and the false story constructed? Did she hope her brother William or friend Mary Pinckney would see through the deception and search for her? The historical record offers no answers. What remains is the silence that almost succeeded in erasing her, broken only by surviving fragments of evidence. For modern visitors walking the same streets Adelaide once walked, her story offers a sobering counterpoint to romanticized narratives of antebellum gentility. Behind the elegant facades and beneath the cobblestones lies a more complex and brutal history. That a woman could be sold into slavery by her husband in 1839 America, with the support of community leaders and the silence of social peers, shows how thoroughly moral reasoning can be corrupted by systems denying full humanity. The bronze plaque in St. Philip's churchyard, "Let Truth Prevail," stands as memorial and admonition, a quiet insistence that we confront history honestly. The partial recovery of Adelaide's story represents both success and failure of historical memory. On one hand, key documents and evidence allow us to reconstruct much of what happened and counter the false narrative of her death from yellow fever. On the other hand, the most important questions remain unanswered. Yet even in fragments, her story reminds us of the experiences of the most vulnerable and honors those whose suffering was hidden and humanity denied. The empty grave at St. Philip's may hold no remains, but it has become a repository of historical memory, where truth, however delayed, has finally prevailed over forgetting.